Hello. Allow me to introduce to you a box ticker extraordinaire, a Muslim woman who is of Latino, South Asian and Arab descent and rejoices in the name Raquel Evita Saraswati. I mean, how many boxes can you tick? Latino, South Asian and Arab and a Muslim, and just look at her, good-looking young woman, and she was working for a Quaker progressive organisation. So she's also, what's the word? Not only multi-ethnic, but cross-cultural and ecumenical as well, isn't she? Now, let's just have a look at Raquel Evita Saraswati at school, because it's always nice to know about the background of progressives like that. Let's have a look at her. Well, let's see, where is she? I don't know, there isn't anyone here who really looks like her, except this is her here. Raquel Evita Saraswati, when she was at school, was Rachel Elizabeth Seidel, and as Swiss as Emmental, with a story that has about the same number of holes in it. And before I carry on, I'll tell you I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. And I am also on Twitter, Gab and Parler, at Granniopteryx, where I let you know when I've uploaded a new video. Sometimes YouTube isn't too careful about that, so it might be worth subscribing to one of those. The links are in the description. Also, the links to Buy Me a Coffee and the other sites where you can donate if you feel like supporting my channel. But the best way to support it, of course, is to like this video and to share it. And if you are subscribed, to check that your subscription is still active. And if you're not subscribed, click that button right now. Okay, that's an order from Granny. Right, let's talk about Rachel Elizabeth Seidel, who was outed by her mother, who said she's as white as the driven snow. And so am I, the mother that is. A US diversity officer. Oh, wouldn't you just know that's the job she'd taken on for herself, who claimed to be of Latino, South Asian and Arab descent, has been outed by her own mother. Muslim activist Raquel Evita Saraswati, dig the Evita bit of it, is the Chief Equity, Inclusion and Culture Officer of the American Friends Service Committee, a Quaker organisation that fights globally for peace and social justice. I'm afraid the Quakers have gone rather off the rails recently. They've got far too politically active and have joined far too many fashionable lefty organisations. And then, of course, they get surprised when they're taken for a ride by people of, well, malleable identity. Her mother, Carol Perrone, says she has chosen to live a lie. I call her Rachel, she told The Intercept, adding she was born Rachel Elizabeth Seidel. I don't know why she's doing what she's doing. I'm German and British, and her father was Calabrese Italian. She's chosen to live a lie, and I find that very, very sad. It's always sad when somebody doesn't know who they are, but then, you know, if a man can identify as a woman, then why shouldn't she identify as a Latino, South Asian and Arab when she's actually just Swiss, or rather of Swiss descent? Now, the person she fooled was a chap called Oscar Pierre Castro. Do you think his name really is Castro? He may have his own problems with identity, but I don't know, so it could be his name. Oscar Pierre Castro, who is a human resources professional. A professional, is he? Right, who helped AFSC hire Ms. Saraswati, and he said the activist presented herself as a queer, Muslim, multi-ethnic woman. I mean, this is any progressive's wet dream, and I'm referring to her list of boxes ticked and nothing else. In my mind, it was great. A person of colour, a queer person of colour, who happens to be a Muslim and a woman, he said. And here you have the very core of the progressive problem. Instead of actually talking about a person, you're talking about their identities, and that's all that matters. So if somebody chooses an identity and doesn't tell you otherwise, she's fine. Whatever she is, the content of her character doesn't mind so much as the colour of her skin, and apparently the apparent colour of her skin in this case. It seemed that there was an element of lived experience and understanding because of the lived experience, not just the academic and extra training that comes with being in a position where you are an equity and inclusion practitioner. I don't quite know what that means, and I'm not sure he does too. But I think what he's saying is that because she's Latino, Arab, Muslim, queer, this, that or the other, then that means she can understand better than anyone else the problems of people who have this particular characteristic in their history. Well, obviously he didn't notice any particular difference in her attitudes, just because she had none of those experiences, so she could fake it pretty well, couldn't she? I definitely feel conned. I feel deceived, he told The Intercept. Mr. Castro, if that really is your name, you are conned and deceived all the time by yourself. Because being a progressive requires that you tell yourself fairy stories. Now questions have been raised about her motivation. So now what they're saying is, no, she isn't a woman with an identity problem, with a mental illness of a sort, with a lack of ability to see where borders and boundaries are. Does that sound familiar? No, it's because she was planted by somebody. Yeah, it's got to be some sort of external plot. Well, that's where the progressives go. They did that with the Russian plot over the Trump election, didn't they? According to Ms. Perrone, her daughter, or Mrs. Perrone, I'd say, her daughter converted to Islam in school and later started presenting herself as being of a different ethnic identity. This is somebody who really doesn't know who she is. She chose Islam because that was an out group, and then that wasn't enough for her, so she had to change the colour of her skin in some way as well. I don't know how she did that, with lots of makeup, and of course wearing all that clothing, being a Muslim, she wouldn't have to reveal the rest of her, which according to her mum is as white as the driven snow. She appeared on CNN, Fox News and right-wing channel Newsmax. In 2013, she also appeared in a film produced by the Clarion Project. Who are they? According to the New York Post, they're the ones who broke the story. This here is from the New York Post. I forgot to mention that, but it's on Reader View because there were so many pop-ups, so you didn't see the header. Let's get back to the Telegraph. According to the New York Post, Miss Saraswati wrote on Facebook, "I assure people that as soon as I am capable, I will provide answers to the recent discussion and attack on me. I understand all the reactions you're having. I'm currently taking the time to get to where I can answer in a way that's most helpful and thorough." Well, yeah, prevarication. the fact is, she chose a fake identity because it got her a great job where she was on the TV and in the media, and she was a spokesperson, whereas before she was just this ordinary mousy girl who was of some sort of Swiss and British descent and not that interesting by her own rights. People are concerned, a member of AFC's leadership told The Intercept, requesting anonymity. Oh yeah, keep your name out of that. And then there's a fear that she could be an agent. Yeah, there's always a fear of plots. Projection much? Because she started her career right-wing. She was a token Muslim voice in that milieu. I don't know anything about that, but it doesn't sound that way. I don't call being queer and marrying and getting married to another woman as particularly right-wing. This is Raquel Evita Saraswati, pictured in 2008 with her then spouse, Arndau Colby. Right. Then it says here, Raquel stands by her identity. Yeah, stands by it, but it's not hers. In a statement, the Philadelphia-based organisation said, "We are in receipt of the documentation alleging that our Chief Equity, Inclusion and Culture Officer has been misrepresenting her identity. AFSC has given Raquel the opportunity to address the allegations against her, and Raquel stands by her identity." Look. Identity is all now. Your identity is what makes you worthwhile as a person and worthwhile being listened to. So, of course, adopt the identity which gives you the most clout. AFSC does not require any employee to prove their heritage as a condition of their employment or in order to be valued as a member of our team. Now that is just a lie. That is a straight out and out lie. Of course, her identity got her valued as a member of their team. And it comes straight from the mouth of Mr. Castro. Because look, this is what he said. Oscar Pierre Castro, a human resources professional who helped AFSC hire Ms. Saraswati, said the activist presented herself as a queer, Muslim, multi-ethnic woman. Not just as a woman with certain credentials, but as a woman with certain identities. And then he says, "In my mind it was great, a person of colour, a queer person of colour, who happens to be a Muslim and a woman." So does that not say that he valued her more for all of this than for what she was? Of course it does. And so did the rest of them. They are lying to themselves and to you, but above all to themselves, because that's what the progressives do, lie to themselves. Okay, well, yep, that's enough from me on that subject. Till next time.